Now, the circus that is the presidential elections here in the United States that spans for at least 2 years, it's filled with debates and campaigning from all the candidates and stuff like that, has officially begun. In the first round of presidential debates, Democratic presidential debates, were had a couple of weeks ago. And I saw, there's officially 22 Democrats running for president. And yes, 22. And they let the top 20 into the actual debates. And to qualify for the debates, folks had to show that they had a certain amount of support, and they did so by the number of donations that they received that had to exceed 65,000 people, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it 1,000 people and $65,000? Something like that. For some reason, the number 65 stands out to me. And what was the other prerequisite? There was something else, but that was like the hardest part, like the donation thing. And all these 20 made it. And the way that they are hosting the debates, or at least this first round, was 10 folks on one night, 10 folks on the next night. And they were all randomly selected by the DNC, Democratic National Committee, which is like the newly appointed. I don't think he's elected. Maybe he is elected, Tom something, but I think he was appointed. The newly appointed or elected official of the DNC, which I forget his name, but it's something Tom or Tom something, a Spanish guy, that, has the main mandate, as he was explaining on the Breakfast Club when he was on it, to take the stench off of the DNC and the corruption that went on with them putting their fingers on the scales in favor of Hillary versus Bernie, when Bernie had more support for the Democratic nomination. So what they did was completely randomize, and this is one step in that direction of being as impartial as possible, was that they didn't pick favorites. They didn't put people up against each other or anything like that in the first debate. They wound up randomizing it, and the first 10 that were picked were on the first debate. The second 10 that were picked were on the second debate. And I saw the first debate completely. And de Blasio was on there, which is my mayor here in New York. Cory Booker was on it, which is, by the way, dating Rosario Dawson. How dope is that? Good for you, Cory. Definitely punching above your weight class there. Pocahontas is in it. What's her name? Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. Damn, Trump has some pretty good fucking branding, huh? He named her Pocahontas, and that shit has stuck. Which I liked, by the way. I really liked her, Elizabeth Warren, the last go-around. I thought that she should have ran instead of Hillary. I think she stepped aside for Hillary. And now, after the whole, her lying about, or at least taking advantage of the whole saying that she was a Native American to get into school, or to get a scholarship for school or something like that, just makes me look at her completely differently now, even though I like some of her policies. Who else? Tulsi Gabbard was on, which I wanted to see in that first round. I like it. You guys know, I'm into politics. Is one of the things that I'm into, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the debates. It's such a huge stage. Everybody doesn't get to answer every question, and you don't get from snippets of hearing people speak and answering questions. You don't get much substance, but you kind of get a feel of how they are on the debate stage, which I think is is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's an important skill to have for that position of president. Whether it be debating policies within your circle or your cabinet, or convincing folks in Congress and the Senate, and foreign policy, obviously. I think it's a good telling sign to see how people are on their feet and how sharp they are how witty they are, how fast they are, and if they truly have something to say or not, if they buckle under the scrutiny, etc., etc., etc. And someone who impressed me, and then when I saw the speaking time afterwards of everyone, it impressed me even more, that I was really surprised about, was my mayor here in New York, Bill de Blasio. Which I'm not biased, because I'm not like it's not like a New York, I want the guy from New York to win type of thing. Because honestly, when he announced that he was running, I was like, what? Like, you're known in New York, obviously, and people in New York don't even like ride for de Blasio like that. Even though I don't know why, because he has done good things, in my opinion. Like crime generally being down, and universal pre-K. But yeah, when he announced that he was running, I was like, what? Like, don't do that. But like on the stage, he was like very noticeable, like very imposing is not the right word, because that has like a negative connotation. He was aggressive, maybe a touch too aggressive, but he definitely had something to say. He stood out from the bunch. I think all the pundits afterwards were saying that he was definitely like one of the winners, quote unquote, of the debate. And what impressed me most is that he was considered like the second to third winner, quote unquote, of the debate. But he had the second least amount of speaking time from all 10 candidates. I think he only got a total of like 5 minutes and change, 5 minutes and 50 seconds or 30 seconds or something like that of actual speaking time. And that to me just shows that there was like that much substance and connection between him and the crowd in that I'm including myself, to come away from the debate as one of the winners. Yeah, you spoke second to last, the least. So that was fairly surprising. Tulsi Gabbard, I like her, and I've liked her from the first time I heard her on Rogan's podcast. She's been on it a couple times, and I thought she did well. Didn't stand out as much as I would have liked her to, but definitely wasn't one of the least known folks on there. And while I was watching the debates, I started writing a document, which I'm going to share with you guys sometime in the future. As the election goes on and stuff like that, and I was starting to think, like, I was hearing different things from different candidates, some things that I liked, some things that I didn't like, some things that were like red flags, some things that I thought were important to be said just because they eventually become part of the Democratic platform. So something, just to explain that point, because I think it's important. Something that Bernie did with running against Hillary and in the last the election is that he made a lot of the ideas that are being spoken about now popular and palatable. And he started pushing the ideas of like universal health care, which was being spoken about before, obviously, but he pushed the line that much further. Free college for all is another thing. I think that's like an underlying purpose of these debates, is that you get different ideas out there, different perspectives, different approaches to the same ideas. We get to cherry pick, I guess, as a speaking like from the perspective of the actual Democratic platform, gets to like cherry pick these best ideas, and the public is like a litmus test for those ideas, and the ones that are popular and seem to garner more interest and AKA votes for the politicians that are running wind up being the ideas that stick and become part of the platform. And hopefully, once our elected officials do get elected, they don't forget where they came from, type of thing, and try to like push and implement said ideas. That obviously isn't always the case, hence the whole stigma of politicians being full of shit. But maybe you might get like one or two of those things on the, platform wish list or whatever. And obviously you can't make everybody happy. So what I started doing was writing a document called My Perfect President. just with bullet points and ideas that different candidates mentioned that resonated with me. And eventually it's going to form the platform of, quote, my perfect president, which obviously won't be just one person, because these are different ideas that are coming from different people that are running, right? They don't all have the same exact ideas or approaches to ideas. But I thought it would be like an interesting exercise in just figuring out what it is that I want. What it is that I like. Where do I fall on different topics like immigration and gun reform, etc. And I started the document, but I haven't seen the second debate, because I actually, the next day after the first one, which I really wanted to see because Andrew Yang is on there, and I like him, and Tulsi Gabbard, and Biden was on that one. I haven't rewatched it, but I had a prior engagement with my job, my regular 9 to 5. Has this like summer party once a year, and I missed it last year, and it's like in a dope like rooftop in Tribeca, and didn't want to miss it this year, so I didn't. But I wound up missing the debate, the second debate, and I want to rewatch it and add to my perfect president document. And eventually, as the election moves forward and I gather more information, I am going to share it with you fine folks. But yeah, check them out. Let me know what you guys think. Who are your candidate or candidates of choice? Hit me up on Twitter at Spun Today or wherever else. You guys know the drill, right? Check out my website, spuntoday.com. Check out the episode notes of this episode for a bunch of ways you can help support the podcast. Listen to some tunes and then hear me tell you about a bunch of ways you can help support the podcast. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got, folks. Episode 130 of the Spun Today podcast in the books. My name is Tony Ortiz. Thank you very much for listening. I'm out.